You are now watching The Meech.
Over the past 2 evenings, I've been getting footage of Super Mario Odyssey. This is primarily because I am making a video called What's Next for 3D Mario, considering that Super Mario Odyssey is going to be 5 years old, and we are due for a new 3D Mario. But also because I plan on making more videos about Super Mario Odyssey, with a full-on retrospective coming later this year. So be on the lookout for that. But when playing through Super Mario Odyssey, I realized something. I started at about 11 p.m., and when I finished, I looked at the clock and it's, oh my gosh, 2 a.m.? That is when you know you have a really good game. When you completely lose track of time, simply because of how fun and engaging the game is. Super Mario Odyssey is one of my favorite games of all time. But others don't see it that way. There's this video I've wanted to check out for quite some time. The only reason I didn't get around to it until now is because the video is 2 hours long. That is already the length of a feature film, but I finally saw it. The video is called Super Mario Odyssey, It's No Masterpiece, and despite my love for Super Mario Odyssey, I was very interested in hearing the counter-arguments. Now I gotta say, this is not against Joseph Anderson, this is just a response to the critique. Obviously, when it comes to my reviews, I never say, it's just my opinion, because if you're watching a review, obviously it's an opinion. And if a review doesn't convey that message, it's doing something wrong. And when Twitter is screaming about an opinion, you're doing something right when it comes to a review. So, after watching it, I wanted to talk about the video itself, what the criticisms were, if I agreed with them or not, and just overall, what did I think? In order to get a good understanding of where Joseph Anderson is coming from, he expected Super Mario Odyssey to be a successor to Super Mario 64 and Sunshine, a sandbox 3D Mario game where you collect power moons based on objectives, and I don't blame him. Nintendo advertised the game as being a successor to Super Mario 64 and Sunshine. His main problems have to do with the game's moons not exactly being tied to a mission or objective like they were in Super Mario 64 or even Sunshine. If you played Super Mario 64, you'll realize that the power stars in that game often aren't found out in the open. In fact, that is very rare. Most of the power stars are tied to certain objectives such as taking out King Bob-omb or finding the lost penguin, and while Super Mario Odyssey does have power moons based on certain objectives, most of them you can find out in the open, and that is what I love about Super Mario Odyssey. If you're considering Super Mario Odyssey to be a successor to Super Mario 64, I definitely see why it could be disappointing, because the structure is more similar to Banjo-Kazooie than it would be to Super Mario 64. But that is what I love about Super Mario Odyssey. In Super Mario 64, the fun comes from the adventure to get the Power Star, but in Super Mario Odyssey, the fun is creating the adventure to get the Power Moons. Here's what I mean. Let's say you see a Power Moon in the distance. You could capture a bullet bill and speed towards it, or you can use Mario and Cappy's abilities to reach it. There isn't often one solution to find the moons, and that is what makes collecting them so much fun. On paper, some of the tasks can be repetitive. Yeah, if you're gonna break a rock open quite a few times throughout the game, yeah, that does sound repetitive. But there are many different ways to do so, and it's why they never felt repetitive to me. It was always fun collecting the moons, and it was always very satisfying to do. That addresses the main criticism of too many moons. I can definitely see from a standpoint if you think it's like Super Mario 64, then there's a lot of filler content. But for me at least, the moons never felt repetitive because of the many ways you can obtain them. I didn't agree with this point there, but I kinda understood where he's coming from. But with these points specifically, they had me thinking, okay, this is a bit nitpicky to, what are you even talking about? The one that caught me off guard the most was the lack of creativity with the world themes. On paper, they definitely sound like standard Mario themes. The grass world, the desert, the beach, the snow world, you get the idea. But what he failed to mention is how these themes are expanded on and are made unique. You can take typical Mario themes and still do really cool things with them. Case in point, Tostarena. Rather than going for the standard Egyptian-themed desert, it does something completely original and is based on Mexico with a lot of Aztec elements. Things like the colorful buildings, the Sugar Skull residence, Jaxi, the Aztec theming with a lot of the locations you see. It definitely feels like something we've never seen in a Mario game before, because it is. It is completely original and new to the series. I also want to see more of it in Super Mario spin-offs. I'd love to see the Toasteranians as playable characters. Then you take a look at the grassy area being Fossil Falls. I will admit, I do wish it had more dinosaurs and it would be cool if it had caveman inhabitants, but it definitely is original compared to the standard Mushroom Hill area that we see in many of the Mario games. I will admit, I would have liked to see the Snow and Seaside Kingdom be a little more out there, but they still have their own creative charm to them and definitely feel different from other locations we've seen in Mario. That I completely disagree with, and the game is pouring with creativity, and I do not know how anyone could see it as generic. Now we get onto the captures being the power-ups. Of course, every Mario game has power-ups, and this game, the captures were essentially the power-ups in the game. At face value, they definitely do sound like power-ups, but what makes the captures so cool is that you get the point of view from the enemies. You get to see what it's like being a Goomba, or a Hammer Brother, or a Chargin' Chuck. That is what makes the captures so cool and different from power-ups. Something like the Wing Cap, it allows Mario to fly, but if you capture a Paragoomba, you get to know what their physics are like, what it's like flying as a Paragoomba, and that's what makes the captures so cool. And you definitely get a new respect for the enemies as well. Hammer Brothers have to throw everything in an arc, and then you realize how difficult it must be for them to just do the orders that Bowser has for them. These are the 2 points that I strongly disagreed with, but even though I didn't necessarily agree with a lot of the points in the video, I saw where he was coming from. I'm not going to say his points were invalid because this is an opinion. It's all subjective. You're not invalid for disagreeing or anything like that. In fact, a lot of things I actually did agree with him on. I think that the game definitely could have benefited from having more hazards, more platforming sections, because the game was a bit too easy for my liking. But overall, when it came to the pacing of the video, there's no need for it to be 2 hours long. A lot of the stuff could have been condensed into a half-hour video, and the point would remain the same. But there is one aspect of the game that he did not bring up, and that is the 100% reward. Getting 100% in Super Mario Odyssey leads to one of the most disappointing rewards in the entire series, and that is pretty much the main criticism I have of the game. But the main question I had going into the video, will this be an eye-opener? Will it change my perspective on Super Mario Odyssey? And I can say without a doubt, no questions asked, hands down, it did not. Because even after hearing it, I still love Super Mario Odyssey despite its flaws. I'm looking forward to doing a full retrospective of the game, going in full detail about it, and even though I love it, I will definitely bring up my criticisms of the game and definitely will go in with a more objective look. And even though I don't agree with Joseph Anderson, I think it was cool hearing the counter-arguments. Even if I like a game, it's cool hearing the other side. In fact, if I dislike a game, it's even cooler to hear the counter-argument. If there is a video called Why Nintendo Switch Sports is a Masterpiece, I would love to see it. But what do you guys think? What do you think about Super Mario Odyssey? And if you've seen why Super Mario Odyssey isn't a masterpiece, please let me know what you think. Well, anyways, guys, as always, keep calm and dada on. I don't need to stay calm this time because I'm playing Super Mario Sunshine, and that is quite a relaxing time. That is until you get to the pachinko machine.